Hello, listeners. Welcome to part one of the Trade Value Global Leaders 2026 Index. I apologize for the first roughly 30 minutes of this podcast. I didn't realize that I had the wrong microphone on, so if it sounds a little different, that's why. I'm not sure if there'll be 2 or 3 more episodes of this, if we'll release them in a batch or whatever, but you will get them and enjoy the extra content. Write to me at jacob@jacobshapiro.com if you want me and Marco to see what you have to say. Otherwise, take care of the people you love. Don't take our comments on these leaders too seriously, especially if they're the leaders of your country. Remember, ultimately, we are trying to talk about geopolitics, but also to be entertaining while doing so. Cheers and see you around.
All right, this is my favorite part of the year, cousin Jacob. I mean, honestly, this is my favorite part of the year. And I don't know what that says about me other than that I am a huge geopolitical nerd. And a member of the Simonsian religious cult when it comes to podcasting. That means that Bill Simmons is our Lord and Savior. We are not members of the Rogosian podcasting sect. Joe Rogan is not. That's not our Lord and Savior. Our Lord and Savior is Bill Simmons, which means that we do gimmicks that are based on sports, and we apply them to our own field of expertise. It also means that
I think by that you mean we actually do some prep.
Yeah, this is the funny thing. I actually had a buddy of mine email me and ask me, "Hey man, what are you reading to prepare for your AI podcast?" And I was like, "What AI podcast?" "Well, the one that you said you and Jacob are going to do." And I was like, "Okay, I don't know what you mean." He's like, "Well, when you prepare for your podcast, what are you reading?" And I was like, "You think we prepare?" The funny thing is, we prepare for the gimmicks.
It's true. You have to.
For the movies, for the geopolitical sporting events, and for our favorite part of the year, which is what we're doing right now. So basically, I'm going to update everybody on what that means. We did this in 2025. This is part 1, by the way. This is going to have to be a 2-parter because this does take a long time. And just so everybody remembers, we basically each have to pick 30 leaders that we believe are extremely good. I always start off with this Warren Buffett quote. I try to invest in businesses that are so wonderful that an idiot can run them, because sooner or later one will. My top-down approach to geopolitics assumes that you should do the same with leaders. You should invest in countries that are so wonderful that an idiot can run them, because sooner or later one will. That's what makes a great geopolitically secure and long-term investable country. But what we're doing here is we're saying, like, no, but what if we can actually select leaders that do make a difference? So there's 5 guides for this. That Jacob and I are going to use. First of all, we assume that there is something inherent about leadership, something universal. Machiavelli wrote The Prince for every prince, not just the ones in Italy. Our primary
princess and every princess. Let's be 21st century about it.
Good point. Like Niccolo Machiavelli's book, The Prince, or Princess, right, should be changed. Just doesn't sound the same, but that's okay. It's a new world, Marco. Get with it. Our primary definition of a successful policymaker is someone who takes on the material constraints of their context and seeks to successfully overcome them. So in a way, for those of you who have read my book, Geopolitical Alpha, this is going against my framework. So this is about bending time and space and altering reality. In other words, we're trying to find those leaders that are going to bend time and space and change the great tragedy of politics and geopolitics. And yeah, so like we also, I would say that because of that first point, that we're looking for those who overcome the limitations of constraints, it's very difficult for leaders of large countries to make it to our list. Because it's very difficult to say whether somebody who is in charge of the US is actually doing a good job, or whether they're just as Daniel Day-Lewis says in the movie Lincoln, wreathed in awesome power, right? There's that scene that's very powerful. It's just such a great, like, in other words, like, Jacob and I would do a decent job with the U.S. Navy at our back. Okay, Second, this is called geopolitical cousins. However, for this, we do care about domestic performance as well. So not all leaders get to ascend to the heights of the geopolitical stage, although I would say that we are biased towards that stage, Jacob, at least looking at our last time. Small wins may catch our attention. Economic performance, passing structural reforms that are difficult to do, like those things do matter. Longevity does matter. It's not just about current performance. It is also about the future. Now, in Bill Simmons's trade value, which is what this is based on, for those of you who are not NBA basketball fans, I just want to explain what he does is he looks at contract length and value as well. So, in other words, a second all-team guy should be more valuable than a rookie, a guy who makes the NBA second all-team. That's. But if they're 37 years old, they're on a terrible contract, and they have a penchant for crapping on teammates via burner Twitter accounts, like if that's the 37-year-old you're talking about, you may not want to trade for that guy. That guy might suck, even though he may average over 20 points per game. So what does that mean in terms of leaders? It means that staying in power for a long time is important, but it can also be a curse. It means you're closer to the end. We don't know anything about Magyar in Hungary. We know nothing about him. But he just crushed a huge election. He bested a dude who was in charge for 16 years. So he has a ton of political capital right now that he can spend on reforms and making Hungary great again. And he has upside. So that does seem amazing. That's your rookie draft pick that may be better than a 37-year-old with burner accounts and who gets bullied in the playoffs by Jake LaRavia with his on-the-ball defense. Go Lakers! 2-0, baby!
Maybe. Although I have a feeling we're going to argue about Peter Magyar, but yes, I hear you.
All right, fourth, there is a loose hierarchy of how we would measure the performance here. To use the NBA player analogy, like what are our stats? I do think we care about approval rating. And I mean, Jacob and I may have a different view here, but approval ratings are kind of like points per game. I mean, it is like the preeminent stat, but it could be good stats, bad team, inflated. Right? Populists, as an example, like some of the guys in our list have had 80-90% approval rating. All right. Economic performance of the country relative to the peers in the region, I think is important. I'll whip out some AI stuff I've used with Claude to like compensate for this. I think it's really cool. Geopolitical performance in terms of building alliances, projecting power, navigating a complicated relationship with a regional hegemon. Those are also things we like. Military performance, Jacob, you used this last year, and I think you were right. It helped you select two guys that I did not put on my list, and I give you a tip of the hat to you. Chapeau. Bibi and Zelensky in particular. So that's something we need to talk about as well. And then finally, completion of difficult tasks. What does that mean? That's, like I said, painful structural reforms, stuff that most of our leaders don't really, listeners don't care about. Javier Milei just passed labor reform in Argentina, bro. Like, that's like level 74 wizard, for God's sakes. All right, fifth, and this is the most important one. So I want everyone to really listen to this one. Why are we doing this? What does trade value mean? Okay, it means, would you trade the current leader of country X for this other one? So if Jacob is running Italy and Marco is running, Spain, if you're a Spanish person and Marco is your prime minister, would you trade Marco for Jacob to run your country? That's it. That's what it means. So the person on the top of this list has to be somebody who we think would basically not be, like everybody in the world would want this person. Now, a couple of things. We are going to rank them.
Wait, cousin. Can I add one more rule here?
Of course, please.
The sixth rule is that this person should actually be a current leader of a country, because in last year's list, I actually put forward somebody who was no longer the prime minister of Estonia. My bad. Thanks to the guy on social media who just wouldn't let me gracefully wiggle my way. Did this.
Jacob, I tried to save it because I thought it. No, listen, I wasn't lying. I just really thought that you just had a crush on Callas and that you actually said, I don't care, but she's a foreign minister of EU, so she gets the list. I had that in my, and the guy re-listened and was like, no, Jacob was an idiot and you were just totally ignorant of the fact Anyways, I will get back. We will do this in a second. So I will go through our list, and I want to call out some wins and misses. So that is coming. But before I do that, I just want to say one last thing. We amalgamate our scores. So we will produce in the second or third part of this. We'll see how long it takes. So both Jacob and I basically go 130. And then what we do is basically if both of us rank this person, we combine our score, divide by 2. That's their score. The lowest it is, the higher you are. If only one of us has them on the list, we penalize that massively. So if Jacob has somebody 17th, so last year Jacob was smart and put I believe you put Benjamin Netanyahu as your 18th. And so I didn't. So we did 18 plus 100 divided by 2, and that obviously punished him, and so he dropped down to 31st. Just so everybody's aware how that works. All right. So I want to call out some of the. So we had last year, Claudia Scheinbaum from Mexico won. Georgia Meloni was second. I think quite admirable that in 2025, two, what is it, cisgendered male whites, whatever, put 2 women as 1 and 2. I just want to get some new listeners. You know, we have too many finance bro listening to this podcast.
Hey, queens on their throne. Let's all bow down. It's men have not covered themselves in glory running countries recently, so why not?
So we had Claudia and Georgia as 1 and 2. Of course, we did have Mohammed bin Salman as number 3. That's a lot of male energy. And then, of course, his good friend Mohammed bin Zayed was 4. Nayib Bukele was 5. Narendra Modi 6.
But he was my number 1. Like MBS and MBZ rose because of you, and I bet we're going to talk about them in this episode.
Well, actually, you had Mohammed bin Salman higher than I did.
I did.
So and Mohammed bin Zayed too. So actually, no, those were all kind of your
did
picks.
I misspeak? Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at the Excel right, but buddy, this is don't worry about it. I got everything. I got this. This is where you relax. Okay, I'm the MC now. You're the color guy. You're Charles Barkley now. I'm the captain. You're Charles Barkley. So Narendra Modi 6, Mark Carney 7, Javier Milei 8, Anthony Albanese 9, Cyril Ramaphosa 10, Lawrence Wong 11. Recep Tayyip Erdogan 12, Friedrich Merz 13, Aliyev from Azerbaijan 14, Paul Kagame 15, Emmanuel Macron 16, Zelensky dropped to 17 due to me, Kyriakos Mitsotakis dropped to 18 because of you, Kasim Yomart Tokayev 19, Mohammed the 6th, Morocco 20th. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I do want to call out a few things. I want to call out some misses on both of our parts. This is subjective. This is based on my view of what's happened over the last 12 months of the NBA season. The reality. So you put Nayib Bukele as number 1. I think that was a miss. I think just because he's number 1. I had him as 14. I have that as a miss too. I don't think he's done anything over the last 12 months. It's just...
Yeah, I think we should reserve comment on that because I think he will come up in our lists in different spots.
Let's do that.
And I think we'll hit him. I thought maybe, I don't want to hijack you, but maybe one way to do it, because I don't want to step on people who are on the list. But I was actually wondering which of because one way to think about this is which of the people that were on your list last year fell off your list this year.
So it's not just so much about falling off. Like I would say Georgia Meloni. So for you, Nayib Bukele was number 1. I don't think he had that kind of a season. I don't think he put the stats. I don't think he put the wins. I don't think he worked the social media. I don't think he got into the playoffs.
Yeah, so I don't want to step on the take too much, but he's sort of like LeBron after that first season with the Miami Heat. It's like, hey man, you've got all the skills, you're doing all the things, but can you develop a post game? Like this should be simple. You should already have a post game. Like you can coast on this big contract that you just got forever and do nothing. That's fine. Or you could add a post game. And ascent. And you're right. He coasted. He got the big contract. He's sitting back. He didn't try anything fun. And a lot of people leapfrogged him in my list this year, not to step on it.
Well, there you go. Exactly. Yeah. Second, and that's okay. We can step on this. Let's give the readers a little bit of a preview. Georgia Meloni was number 1 on my list for various reasons, some of them which are just inherent to who she is. And I'm going to leave it at that. She was 7 on your list. I think that was a miss on both of our parts. Top 10. I don't think she put up the numbers to be number one, and we'll talk about that. She definitely fell off of my list quite a bit. She's still on it because I just can't quit her. Then
and she's still the prime minister of Italy. I mean, the vagaries of Italian politics, just that in itself is a small victory.
Hey, that's a great point. No, that's a good take. Cyril Ramaphosa, I think, was a miss. Again, not for any reason. I don't think he did anything wrong. It's just meh. Both of us missed that one. Of course, Kaya Kallas. Mwah. That was, Shigeru Ishiba. So Kaya Kallas was 12, and then Ishiba was 13 on your list. I would say both of those.
Well, Ishiba and Orban both drop off because they are no longer leaders. I think Ishiba was somebody who was trying to go against the material constraints and had an interesting attempt at doing so, and he failed. It didn't work, and it's a tough game out there, So for him, he absolutely has fallen off. But I would say that he was a good pick in the sense that he was trying to do something that was very hard, and it was beyond him. But yes, he's not on the list. He can't be on the future list because he tried and he failed. But at least he tried. A lot of leaders don't try; they just sit there, cashing the checks. So
listen. So Kaya Kallas literally played in EuroLeague, so there's no rescuing that.
No.
Ishiba tore his ACL, but fine. Like I get it. It wasn't your fault. He tore his ACL. Viktor Orban, you put him on the list. I didn't. I do think it's a miss. And one of the things that I said when you did is I think he's Paul George. I think that you went with the stats, and what you didn't see is that dude, the time is running out. I think.
Yeah.
And then
he was Kobe after he tore the Achilles.
Oh my God! Do not compare Jesus Christ of Los Angeles to Viktor Orban. Thanks. And then finally, I'm gonna notch this as more of a miss for me than you. So Friedrich Merz, it was 27 for you, 19 for me. We had a lot of hopes for him as a rookie, and we'll talk about this. We'll leave that aside. All right. So I think you have more misses than I do, but you also do have more wins than me. So I think you were swinging for the fences. I think you were less nerdy, honestly. I think that you went for just fucking raw power, And so look, here's some wins that I have on you that I believe are nerdy. Kyriakos Mitsotakis, I think, is one of the best leaders in the world. I can defend it with stats, and you're gonna be like, bro, it's Greece. Give me a break. You know what I mean? And it's fair. This is what I mean. Pedro Sanchez, I ranked him very high. We got a lot of hate mail for this. I think he deserves to be there. He's one of the only European leaders whose popularity is rising from a low level, but still. Anwar Ibrahim, that was another one that I think I nailed. Malaysia is absolutely fucking crushing it on many levels. And I had Mette Frederiksen, which was a huge, huge win because she crushed it. But she did suffer in the election, actually, and she is trying to form a government right now. That's getting a little complicated. So, decent picks, these are good all-stars. They're role players. They're sixth man of the year. Mitsotakis is like Jamal Crawford of geopolitics, But you got some fucking bangers, man. You went hard in the paint. You were no, I'm picking Jokic, Doncic. I'm fucking picking triple doubles. You went Zelensky too. Boom. What's up? Mic drop. Huge. Just that right there, I think wins. Just that right there, makes up for Kaya Kallas. Xi Jinping, great one as well. Just a solid one, almost too obvious, but I'm eating crow on that one. He's not. He was my notable mention, I think, but no, man, well. He's top 10, bro. Shavkat Mirziyoyev. Your Uzbekistan pick was, I think, better than my Tokayev pick. Both probably picked too high, but I like him. Both are good. Then Benjamin Netanyahu is 18. We're going to talk about that. I think you were right. And then finally, Prabowo Subianto. I think that is your Indonesia, my Malaysia. Both are good. Both deserve to be there. So generally speaking, we both had some good wins, but I just think yours are cooler.
Oh, all right. Well, that's nice.
All right, so why don't you start us off with the bottom four? We're going to start backwards. Bottom five. You start first, and then I will give my five, and we'll see how long we can get this going and how much we cover today.
All right. Well, I'll start here. I'll say that we already talked about Ashiba and Orban, so they're off the list for obvious reasons. They're no longer leaders of their countries. I want to start off by saying I didn't go through methodically and look at every single one that I omitted, but at least 4 leaders were on my list last year who are gone. They will not be on my list going forward. I think 3 are going to be uncontroversial to you, and 1 will be controversial. Anthony Albanese in Australia.
Bolognese, that's so mean.
Sorry,
so he
man.
Still makes your list.
He doesn't make my list. He's off the list.
Oh, you're talking. Yes, got it.
I'm going to give you a few off the list, and then I'll give you my 5. Albanese off. You've done nothing, man. You just sat there with a relatively easy job in Australia. I don't see a whole lot of work being put in. I just see a lot of laziness, not much done.
Oof,
in the same vein,
Jesus.
I know. I'm not here to be nice. Keir Starmer in the UK, I am thoroughly unimpressed.
Yes.
I was pretty unimpressed last year too, but I thought, okay, technocratic, blah, yeah, just not impressed. MBZ, the leader of the UAE, you're off for me, man. You're fooling around in Sudan, and you're fooling around in Yemen, and you're picking fights with Saudi Arabia, and you're shocked that the Iranians hit you with more rockets and drones than with Israel. Well, why not? If you are going to have this glittering future where UAE is going to be the Switzerland of the Middle East, you don't have the luxury of offensive foreign policy and geopolitics, and you seem not to get that message. So he's off, and then Javier Milei fell off my list for the simple reason of that stupid crypto corruption scandal. That was a joke. And maybe he'll push some things through. That's fine. But overall for me, it's just not a very good look. So, and by the way, and I'll just give you my bubble too. Here's if we had gone beyond 30, some folks who are in that 30 to 35 range for me. Mr. Kazakhstan Tokayev is there. Anwar Ibrahim is there. Peter Magyar, I'm not willing to put him in the top 30, but I'm in he's a good 2nd round draft pick as far as I'm concerned. And Donald Tusk was sort of in the bottom, didn't quite make it, but thought about it. Okay, but so here's my 30 to 25. 30 is Abiy Ahmed in Ethiopia. He has not done a whole heck of a lot. He's got a lot of challenges that he's going through. Maybe we're going to have a new Ethiopian civil war. Maybe he's going to have a war with Eritrea. So has not covered himself in glory, but he's trying to do something extremely difficult. He is trying to create an Ethiopian national identity that will allow Ethiopia to become a modern nation state and an economic and even military power in East Africa. And he's trying. He's trying in ways that I find honestly morally reprehensible some of the time. He's trying in ways that are not working so much, but he's still there. He's still trying, and he's making hard decisions. So I will at least give him the nod there. At 29, I have Ramaphosa here at 29. That's not any kind of huge endorsement of him. It's just when you start to get into the 20s and 30s, there's not a whole lot of great, there's 5 top players out here, not everybody's going to be great. So for me, it's just, he's still around. South Africa's doing okay. It's not doing great, but it's not the dumpster fire that maybe it's been in previous years or with some others. And he's got a really hard job too. It's a very different socioeconomic and cultural context than Ethiopia. But again, trying to stitch together a nation state out of something that is not a nation state and being able to stay on top of that and keep things relatively calm while trying to make progress on things like basic power infrastructure, health infrastructure, he's there, he's trying. I'm sure our South African listeners will be like, oh, he sucks. Yeah, he's 29th, okay? I'm not saying he's the bee's knees. I'm just saying when you start getting down to this level, I think there's a baseline level of competence that we should give him a nod for. Prabowo comes in at 28th. I think I had him a little higher last year. I've been disappointed on the early returns. He has a fairly bloated cabinet. He's not really attacked corruption, but he has played China versus the U.S. very well.
Yeah,
I think on the foreign policy stage, he's done very well.
So you had him 24th. It's interesting that you have him this low. But sorry, go ahead. I'll go over this once you're done. Yeah.
Yeah, no, just that I'm a little unimpressed domestically with what he's been doing. He's been more populist and more kind of corrupt, and he comes from the military dictatorship age and then rehabilitated his image. You can feel the military dictatorship urge starting to come out a little bit. It's just a little nervous about where he's going. And it's funny, I didn't realize that I had Friedrich Merz right at 27, which is apparently where I had him last year. Hasn't done much. He's starting to say some of the right things, but he's not doing the things, but he's at least talking about it. So I'm sure we can go at that. 26, Mohammed bin Salman. You have fallen quite a bit on my list. Pretty rough last 12 months based on what's happened, I think. Although I will say that my AI assistant, Sally, said, "Are you sure you want MBS this low on your list?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm sure I want MBS this low on the list." Have you seen the Strait of Hormuz? Have you seen what the Saudi-Iran rapprochement did?
Bro, Sally's just trying to get you not bonesawed. Like, I think Sally's like far more intelligent and advanced than you think.
Yeah, well, yeah, probably.
But I mean,
and then 20.
Yeah, that's a huge drop from 3 to 26. But that's cool. Like, let's go 25. Yeah.
I almost left him off the list, but I started getting into I started doing dumpster diving, and I had to put him on. I think Saudi Arabia has fundamentally failed, like ingratiated themselves with the Trump administration, throwing around all these glittering promises. And now, man, you've got the Strait of Hormuz closed. You've got Iran in control of it. You're going to have to start cutting back your ambitions for all these things you want to spend money on. You've also maybe set the stage for countries in the world to start building infrastructure so that they don't have to deal with you anymore in the long run. I mean, just a lot of mistakes here. And who knows how much, like there's been reporting that Saudi Arabia was pushing, at least on some level, for the attacks. I don't know if that's true or if it was after it started. They wanted them to push it to the end. They didn't want this sort of middle ground. But I think Saudi Arabia is in a really weak position, and that MBS is responsible for that. And making a new appearance on the list for me at 25th, To Lam of Vietnam.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Paramount leader of Vietnam. He is now the general secretary and the president. He's consolidated control, a very Xi-like corruption drive. Those are purges for those of you out there who are not familiar with Vietnamese politics. This time last year, I was literally telling my clients, Vietnamese politics is crazy. I wouldn't trust it. The knives are out. You've got different factions, geographic factions, and the security guys versus the economic trade guys and everything else. That's all resolved. He's in charge. He's calling the shots, and Vietnamese politics is no longer a problem. And Vietnam is now pushing forward, dealing with their biggest issue, which is energy and capacity for all of the interests, manufacturing interest and industrial interest that they have in the world. So he's starting to look like a mini Xi Jinping to me. We'll see. It's a little bit speculative because he's only been there really firmly ensconced in this position now for a little while. So I might have egg on my face, but I like what I'm seeing out of this, and I've had to do a real 180 on my take on Vietnam, in part because of his leadership and what he's been able to do and how he's changed Vietnamese politics in the short run.
Yeah,
so
that's
my 30
really,
to 25.
Yeah, that's a really great pick. That's kind of like the degree of difficulty. That's what you're saying. The domestic politics are like very difficult. He consolidated power, so I like that. Cool. So I'm gonna go with who I didn't put, just like you did. Emmanuel Macron did not make my list. It was a tough year for European leaders, I think. A tough year. Even though a lot is going on at the Commission level that I like, I almost put Ursula von der Leyen. I almost put her on. But Emmanuel Macron had an opportunity to seize a lot of airtime here with all these crises. He didn't. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. Last year, we both put him on. You had him 28th. I had him 23rd. He built a centrist coalition out of scratch, stayed in power a long time. He's like, I think he's getting into Paul George territory now. So that's why I did not have him on the list.
That's interesting. And the metaphor here, as you will find out on my list, is that if he's Paul George, then I'm Daryl Morey, because I had him further up the list this year. Maybe it's just because I'm watching him in front of the nuclear submarine and the very grim rendition of the Marseille. Like I bought it.
Yeah, no, that's. And by the way, this is an honorable mention for me this time around. I'm not saying he just dropped out of top 30. I didn't have Erdogan. I feel like he could have done more. I think the degree of difficulty for him is low. It's time to seize power. It's all the shit that you talk about Turkey. I agree with you, Jacob Shapiro, but I think that Erdogan needs to do it. Like, he hasn't done anything meaningful at all. There's geopolitics is happening around him. He is irrelevant, I would almost say. He hasn't done anything on the geopolitical level, although he has stabilized the economy to some extent. So, he makes the honorable mention, not a dishonorable mention, honorable mention.
Yeah, I would just say he's kept Turkey out of two wars that previous Turkish leaders might not have been able to keep him out of.
I almost want him
impressed.
I almost want him to enter those wars. It's time for Turkey to seize the heights that Jacob Shapiro has told us they would ascend to.
No, I think it'll be time when they've developed their offshore gas deposits that they found, and when they're no longer dependent on importing wheat from Russia. Let's fix those two things first, and then you can start. Sure. And by the way, Mr. Erdogan, you might want to get on the nuclear proliferation train if Israel is
100%.
talking about you're next.
Donald Tusk was 30th for me last time. He is now just an honorable mention. As you say, he's good, whatever, it's okay. And then Oman's Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said did drop off. I had him very high, 10th. He's not here anymore because Oman just has an egg on its face. It put all this time and effort into saving humanity, and what did it give us? Nothing really. It did not really work out. Now, mentions that made it last time for me, but are kind of meh, not impressed, not honorable mentions. So Oman, Poland, Turkey, and France, I give them, a tip of the hat. They just didn't make my 30. A few that I am not impressed. Nayib Bukele dropped off my list. I think maybe hype. I think he is going to be a bust, I gotta say. But
he didn't make your list.
Didn't make my list. No, I put him on the list because a bunch of my crypto and finance bros loved him. You put him 1. I had him 14. I listened to my bros who are under the age of 35. You're young at heart, and I just what did I get from him? Empty. I think he's Jalen Green. Quite frankly, I think he's Jalen Green of geopolitics. That's where I rank him. Mellow. He's mellow. He's mellow. 14-year-olds love Melo because he's awesome to play on NBA 2K. No, I'm not going to put Nayib Bukele. I'm not impressed.
Yeah, I was thinking about his NBA comp, and I was settling on Julius Randle.
No, man, it's Melo.
Good.
It's obviously Melo, bro. It's Melo. It's Melo. It's just I see it. I see what you guys are talking about. But he's a little bit of a 14-year-old's pick, and I know that sounds terrible because you put him number 1 last year, but you know what I mean.
And he's in my top. He's in my top tier, so it's okay. I'm okay. A 14-year-old.
It's fine. Whatever. So those were my honorable mentions. Sorry, dishonorable. Cyril Ramaphosa, Anthony Albanese, meh. Didn't put him on. I just feel their performance has been meh. And then finally, somebody who definitely did not make my list is Friedrich Merz. So he's actually had a terrible performance. I agree with you. He says the right things. I agree with you on that front. He's trying, but he is in almost flirting with single-digit approval rating in Germany right now. And that's because I think he should be just much more forceful. And the one thing he decided to be super forceful on is immigration. And I think what he's missing is that he needs to stop having geopolitics be something that Germany's on autopilot. Still way too differential to America. From a European perspective, I'm not saying from an objective, way too differential to Israel. A ton of leaders in Europe stood up to Israel in various ways, which obviously Israelis light themselves on fire on and they hate. Sorry, guys, everybody hates you in Europe, so it works. He stood against that. I think that's hurt him. Way too differential to the US. He just doesn't understand that what Germans want and what Europeans want is for Germany to lead. And so he needs to fix this. He's off my top 30. All right, so
I think about him. I think he's at least starting, and talk is cheap. He has been starting to say the right things the last 2 or 3 months, and his government's attempt to do healthcare reforms and things like that. I'm getting. Is this the Hartz reforms? Are we getting a whiff of a German leader who, okay, he's finally getting it? He's going to copy some of these other European leaders, or Mark Carney, who I'm sure we will get to. Is he starting to feel or see the template? I have some hope for him, but I would agree with you. I have purchased some real estate on Friedrich Merz Island, and there's not a whole lot of company here. You can get land pretty cheap. There's tons of beachfront property here on Merz Island with me, and I might look not so good.
What I would say to you is that I feel like I was much higher on him than you were. I mean, literally, I was. He was, I think, 20th for me, and he was, 27th for you. And I feel I got burned. So that's maybe why my bias. You were more level-headed.
I have him exactly where I did last. He's 27th for me again. I have
exactly.
him in the exact same spot.
That's exactly what I mean. I think that's why you're more comfortable keeping him there. I might be a little bit buyer's remorse. All right. So let me start crushing my bottom 6 picks. I start with, my I had Robert Golob from Slovenia last time as one of my bottom picks. I like to go kind of quirky. It's the 30th pick. I want to like kind of go quirky. I think Jans Frederick Nielsen from Greenland, just like looks like a dude that you run into at the White Castle. He wears these hoodies. You know what I mean? He's probably had a couple of joints. He's just went into White Castle to get some nice sliders. Doesn't look like a leader at all, but I mean, think about it. You're in charge of a giant geography with a population of Santa Monica, California, and the president of the United States of America threatens to fucking invade you. And you play it cool. Well done. Well done, Jans. You make my 30th. You can be my captain any day. So well done. 29.
Oh, hold on. I just want to note, I think that Santa Monica has like double the population of Greenland, or at least close to it. Yeah.
No,
you're talking about a much bigger thing than Greenland. But I didn't even think of him. I'm jealous of the pick. It's a very good pick.
I think you're going to have this next guy higher. But if you don't, you're going to be even more jealous of this one. I can't believe you didn't put this guy, though. I suspect you did. Balin Shah, baby. Nepal.
Don't have him. But I do like to tell us more about this. The listeners are going to need some context. But yeah.
So this is the youngest leader in the world right now. He is 35 years old. Media makes it sound like he just came out of nowhere. He was the mayor of Kathmandu, baby, for like 4 years prior. So he like became mayor of a giant Asian city. Very complicated to be a mayor. There's all sorts of infrastructure problems at 31. He's actually, everybody says he's a rapper. He's a hip hop artist. Like, pump the brakes on that, guys. Yes, he is. He also like studied for a PhD in like, I think, engineering. He's extremely highly educated. This guy was like pursuing grad school studies. He tried to solve Kathmandu's problems like trash, traffic, like bread and butter issues. He wasn't just out there like dropping bars. So incredibly impressive guy. He joined a party. We don't really know anything about him necessarily. He loves shades. He always is seen with these like kind of quirky shades. He did join a party for the infrastructure, the political infrastructure, but that party is actually led by someone else, Rabi Lamichane, television presenter turned politician who had several jail sentences and is facing allegations of fraud, money laundering, and organized crime. So the whole problem for Shah is that he needed this party infrastructure. So he joined a party with questionable leadership, but his whole platform is Gen Z protests in Nepal. They want to change. So what is he going to do? Right? That's his big thing. His big test is coming up. One thing I would say about him, though, is that when he did join this party and he contested the election, he chose to go after the four-time prime minister. He chose that district. And he just fucking crushed it. And I respect that. He didn't like, it's a parliamentary democracy. He could have chosen any electoral district, more or less, to kind of just slot himself into the parliament. He was like, nah, I'm going to go after the king. And he did, and he crushed it. So this is a rookie. This is my flyer. Bill Simmons picks rookies in his top 10, top 20. Why? They're on a rookie contract. Ton of upside. You're not picking someone who's a 37-year-old over the hill shooting guard who tweets on his burners. Right? You're not picking that person with a $30 million a year contract. You're picking someone on a rookie contract. And by the way, he's going to be on a rookie contract for 4 years. What's the equivalent of that in geopolitics? He's got a ton of political capital. That's why I put him in here.
Yeah, let's spend a minute on him because I think you and I talked about the Nepal protests last year in the podcast and what it meant in terms of Gen Z and a rising Gen Z disillusion with establishment politics and what that meant. And I actually had a Nepali graduate student who went to some of the protests my podcast like 6 months ago. And that was a really interesting episode. I think in terms of degree of difficulty, you're right on because Nepal has extremely high levels of poverty. All countries are corrupt, but Nepal is up there in terms of systemic corruption. You've got extremely high youth unemployment. You've got, I think it's something like over 2,000 Nepalis migrate daily, especially to the Gulf countries. Almost 40% of Nepal's, over a quarter of Nepal's GDP comes from remittances, and about 40% of that comes from a diaspora population in the Gulf, which I'm saying that because the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and the things that are happening around the Iran war are going to hit Nepal, not just from an energy perspective, but in a meaningful way in terms of that as well. I would be skeptical about him just because he is the first expression of those youth protests. And, he has said things like, oh, I'm going to double the economy. We're going to raise per capita income. We're going to attract FDI and increase trade connectivity. We're between India and China so we can balance against them. That's a very hard task. And for me, he's somebody who was elected on vibes. We will see if he can govern. I have
for sure
the fact that he joined the party. That's a good sign that he's pragmatic enough to do it. But I think it's a very interesting pick. And to your point, it's a swing for the fences pick. This could be like, we're looking pretty good, or we could see him gone like in the next 12 months.
100%. It's definitely swinging for the fences. The next one is the opposite of swinging for the fences. Old school, just been around forever. Neither one of us had him on our list. It's Lula of Brazil. Why is he on my list?
Did I not have him last year? I thought I did.
You did not. No, we did not have Lula.
That was an oversight. No, I thought I did. I thought I compared him. I thought.
You did
last year. Yeah, last year I compared him to Kobe Bryant. That was my comparison.
Yes, he was 20th actually. Yeah, he was 20th. Look, I think the finance bro in me didn't put him on, but let's be real. He's frisky. I like it. He is like the liberal version of your old conservative uncle. Mm-hmm. He says crazy shit, but liberal, and I respect that. That's cool. Just says whatever he wants. He's at that stage in his life. He doesn't care, I find that intriguing. And despite the fact that he's seen as anti-market, Brazil is on fire. My colleagues at BCA Research keep writing these bearish pieces about Brazil every 6 months. And guess what? Brazil keeps fucking crushing and melting their faces.
Can we have them on the podcast? And we will eviscerate them? I've been bullish since 2022 and I'm continued. I'm bulled up.
You know why? Because it kind of doesn't matter, right? This is my point about Latin American countries. Bro, if the dollar's going down, commodities are going up, who cares? Karl Marx could be the president. Now, and look, he stood up to Trump. That's one of the things that I do respect here. If you show up, in big games, standing up to Trump is like, you've got a game on NBC on Sunday against the Thunder. Donald Trump is Oklahoma City Thunder. America is the fucking Thunder, and Trump is Dort. And do you stand up and go toe to toe? And Lula, zero fear. So, not clear how long the economy can keep pumping due to consumers. They seem like they're starting to step up, but who even cares? He's in a debt trap, hasn't really done anything to fix that. Debt to GDP is a respectable 80%, but it's going higher. And it doesn't really matter because commodities, dollar, it's just, I don't think he's done a good job. I do think he's kind of economically mismanaged Brazil. I don't think his second go around has been as good as the first. I mean, that's an obvious statement, but fuck it. He's my 28th pick. And I think I'm standing by that.
Yeah, I want to double click on him too. I mean, remember 30 years ago, we would have been talking about hyperinflation in Brazil. So the fact that we're talking about debt to GDP 80% and rising, that is significant progress over a 30-year time period that Brazil is exhibiting that. And I think you're right. He showed some very adept skill, not just at standing up to President Trump, but in relations with China, in sort of positioning Brazil in a multipolar world. And he's been doing that since the first term. BRICS and the vision that he had for a multipolar world, he was really early on that. I think the biggest problem for him on the list, and I had him much higher. I'll tell you that I had him 14. The problem with him on this list is he's old. He doesn't have his fastball anymore. He's really relying on his charisma. And what's old, he had to leave politics for a while because of a corruption scandal. And there is no heir apparent. If you look at the polls, if it weren't for standing up to Trump, are we talking about a Bolsonaro or a Bolsonaro relative coming in for the next election?
Trump has resurrected Lula.
Yeah, in some ways. And I also just think I thought Brazil, well, and then to your point about the economy, I mean, the fertilizer story is going to hurt Brazil more than maybe any other country in the world. I mean, yes, they export a lot of agricultural commodities, but as our friend and godfather Uncle Peter Zeihan often talks about when he's bearish on Brazil for all the wrong reasons, they do need fertilizer to make it work. Soil there is not great, at least in some of these areas, and if fertilizer costs are up, like that's really going to at least potentially hit some of the agricultural commodities, coffee prices, like all of that is worked in there. I thought he was pretty pathetic in how he dealt with Venezuela and how he's dealt with how the U.S. treated Colombia, and from a regional integration standpoint, like all of that, he gets sort of negative marks for me. And I think part of that is just I think he lacked the energy of the first of his first term. Like I think he had the right vision at the time, but there's just not. I don't know, like first term Lula, I think would be cleaning up pretty well now, and he's doing the best he can and doesn't have a clear heir apparent. So I hear you, but I if you go back to the would you trade your current leader for Lula, I think in this global environment, I think a lot of people are looking around and being like, yeah, I might trade for Lula.
But so where do you have him right now? Like at 14?
I had him right at 14.
It's interesting because I mean, a lot of the things you just said were kind of negative, but you have him quite higher than me, which is fine. I mean, he's got certain qualities on the geopolitical side that are interesting, but yeah, I've been kind of disappointed domestically, and I don't think he gets the credit for the financial markets doing the way they have, other than that he hasn't like messed anything up.
No, I think he's that. I think he's that aging veteran all-star. And is he? Yeah. Where in Mitch Richmond's career are we talking about? Is this like
wow,
like that?
Wow.
If you get Mitch Richmond at the right time, you're doing pretty good. If you're getting like end stage Mitch Richmond, not so good. So I'm betting that he's still got a year or two left in the tank, but we will.
Mitch Richmond got a ring with the Lakers, and all he did in the finals was hit the very last shot of the very last game. So that's like that's like Mitch Richmond lore for you. All right. Next one for me, I think you're going to appreciate this too. I think my bottom 5 picks, I was trying to give like a little bit of an homage to you because you do like find obscure countries to pick. Anura Kumara Dissanayake, Sri Lanka, took over in 2024. Also a pretty young dude, not as young as Shah in Nepal, but like very similar situation. 2022 was one of these Gen Z protests. We had complete collapse of Sri Lankan society. He took over from an interim interim leader who was Ranil Wickremesinghe. Apologize for butchering that. Now, the economy has actually stabilized and growth is big time back. Tourism has recovered. They've managed to stabilize the currency and inflation. I would argue that number one, that's incredibly threatened now going forward. They are probably the most vulnerable. It's not his fault though. And also I would say that the reason he's as low as he is for me is that it was the previous administration that actually did the hard work in those kind of 2-year gap between the resignation of Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He was replaced with Wickremesinghe through a parliamentary vote, so there wasn't actually an election. But it just is what it is. I mean, he has been in charge since 24. He hasn't messed things up. And I do think his like humanitarian efforts with the Iranian vessels and so on were notable. He has been on the world stage and I salute him for that. I mean, Sri Lanka is not the largest of countries. So he makes my 27th. 26 is Peter Magyar. Yes, very similar to Balin Shah. But let's be very clear. So they're both draft picks that I'm putting high because they're on rookie contracts. Magyar has an even greater political capital than Shah. I mean, he won 2/3 majority in Hungary. I mean, he absolutely destroyed Orban. And so that's your rookie contract for 6 years at a very low stage. Like he can do a lot of stuff. And I think there's a lot of easy wins for him, particularly with EU funds he's going to unlock. So I think he's going to be on fire, and just his demeanor is really impressive. Like the way he just went in to the state broadcaster and was very calm, collected, and basically said, look at me. Look at me. Yeah. I'm the captain now. Well done, man. Just like good looking dude, fit, just, just walks in there, like just carries himself with that, just, I like it. All right. Giorgia Meloni, 25th, lost the constitutional referendum.
Wow. What a fall from grace.
Yeah, she was. Look, I drown my babies. What's the analogy? I kill my babies. I
drown your kittens.
I drown my kittens. I don't fuck around. I cut my losses. I got stop losses, baby. Like tight. I don't. I'm not in it forever. I trade underperformers, and I like her. I think she's still doing good things. She lost the constitutional referendum. She should have never called. You should ask Renzi how that helped his career. She got into trouble for not defending the Pope right away, and she's starting to see her popularity slump. She should have played up the card of being the Trump whisperer, not the Trump admirer. Going to the Trump inauguration, brilliant move. But you got to tell the Italian public, like, I'm doing this because I have to, not because I like it. And I don't think she made that point enough. She didn't defend the Pope right away. She had to come back to that. And look, the fact of the matter is the economy is starting to kind of like peter out a little bit, unlike Spain, which is still on fire. Italy is about to overtake Greece as the highest debt to GDP, and deficit remains at a very high level. So, like, I gotta, she just didn't perform that well. So that is my pick, 25.
Maybe it's just because I had her on cruise control. I'll give away that she was still high on my list, still number 7. And I agree with everything you just said. I just think Italy is of the European countries, like, that is a high degree of difficulty, and Italian politics is really hard to thread the needle on. I think you're right, though. Like, especially like the U.S. attack against Iran, like that was a big blow to her armor, I think, because she did have this reputation as the Trump whisperer and had sort of aligned herself with the United States, and now she's having to walk that back. So I agree with you that things are looking a little tough for her, but I believe in you, George. I think you have the capacity to come back and the resilience to come back, but that's partly based on past performance, which might get me in trouble.
Okay, so your turn for now, the next few.
Okay, so you want to do 24 through 19?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Coming at 24, we talked about him already a little bit. This is where I have Mr. Erdogan.
Okay.
He has some of the same problems that we just discussed with Lula. He's getting old. There's no heir apparent. You can see the opposition starting to spin up in the same way that last year we could have said Orban, maybe not long for the leadership of his country. Change is eventually coming to Turkey for Erdogan. I think it's actually a very compelling comparison because people are freaking out about the death of Turkish democracy. And I'm not saying that Erdogan hasn't done illiberal things and that he isn't trying to stack the deck against the opposition, but the opposition also bears a lot of the blame. They are hopelessly divided among themselves. They can never get on the same page. Like, in some sense, he's picking them off because they're making it easy for them to pick off. Apologies to Turkish listeners who are like, oh my God, you're being so reductive and so forgiving of Erdogan. I'm not. Like, I get it. My only point is, I think Turkish democracy still lives. And I think that Erdogan is now starting to flirt with the end of his control over Turkey's political class and the economic class. That said, this guy's been doing it for over 2 decades now, and he has fundamentally reshaped Turkey. He's really like, united is the wrong word, but when he started as a politician, it was basically wealthy Istanbul elites who were calling the shots, and now the Anatolian heartland and the Istanbul wealth, like, they have to work together. There's a greater sense of Turkey's relationship with Islam. They're not pretending like Ataturk that, we're like the French. We're going to be perfectly secular. Erdogan was like, no, we're Muslim. We were like the seat of Muslim power for hundreds of years. Do you think we're just going to ignore that and ignore all of the soft power that comes with that? And I'll also say, I give him high marks for how he's dealt with foreign policy. Like, it would be easy to go full throttle support for Ukraine against Russia because Russia is a historical enemy, but you import energy and food from there. So you got to figure out a way to work with them while starting to develop self-sufficiency, while also helping the Ukrainians with drones and other things. It'd be easy to jump on the anti-Iran train, but you don't really want to do that. Instead, you're going to nibble at Iraq and nibble at some of these places where you already have influence. I know Ahmed al-Shara is going to come up on both of our lists here at some point. That's also a Turkey thing. Syria is going to be a Turkish proxy going forward, and that's playing a long game that Erdogan has really overseen, and watching Turkey, like, watch Assad fall, watch Russian and Iranian influence in Syria fall, and here is Turkey to pick up the pieces. And he's been able to deal with the Syrian Kurdish issue and a lot of these other issues, at least so far, in a way that is not as bloody as I thought that it might be. So I give him high ratings. I think there's an interesting moment coming up with Turkey's relationship with Europe. And I don't know if Erdogan's going to be able to see that through just because of his own ideological blinders, and he's been doing it for so long. But I still rate him pretty highly with how he's dealt with things. The next two on my list are relatively boring, and I think they were right around this place on my list before. At 23rd, I've got Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev. This one's boring just because he's got an easy job. Azerbaijan's energy rich, like their historical rival isn't really much of a rival, as we saw in the Nagorno-Karabakh war. But I give him like a nod for stability, again, for keeping Azerbaijan out of the fray, for being a very good steward of Azerbaijani geopolitics and pressing on Russian weakness and pressing on Iranian weakness. Like, I think he's played the board well, even if he has an easier hand. 22 is El-Sisi in Egypt, who that's a much more difficult hand.
You did have him last time too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe with higher fertilizer prices and higher food prices, maybe we're talking about Arab Spring 2.0 6 to 9 months from now. But in some ways, there is no country that is more exposed to what's been going on in the Middle East since the first Israel-Iran war, since Egypt. And El-Sisi has been able to manage so far. Now, he also has a little, like, would you trade for him? He's also the figurehead of a military dictatorship. So I don't know that a lot of people are going to want to trade for him, but I think he's proven himself capable in some of these other things. What were you going to say about him?
No, I was just going to say it is very similar to last year. I mean, you dropped Erdogan a little bit down. It's interesting putting Aliyev above Erdogan. You're going in, like, you're almost going like regionally. I mean, it assumes that you would basically want to trade Erdogan for Aliyev. The way
I think you would, because I think Erdogan's aging out. I think Aliyev still he's younger. He's the younger prospect here, even if he has some of the same characteristics. And arguably is molded somewhat in the same image, like not quite a copy and paste, but yeah. But yes, I did have
a lot of younger. I mean, like, yes, younger by 8 years. Okay, well, yeah, some NBA career there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit of a time thing there. So El-Sisi, and then rounding out to 19. This is a very Middle Eastern focused part of the list, but this is the non-Middle East focused person. At 21, I have Bolo Tinubu in Nigeria. This is really a degree of difficulty thing. I mean, he's done some things with fuel subsidies that people didn't think were possible. Nigerian oil production starting to see some positive signs there, which is like a big deal because they weren't able to get it out of the ground.
I love this pick.
There's still lots of problems there, but high degree of difficulty. He's still around. He's trying to make things better for Nigeria in an environment that is very difficult for Nigeria. I give him the nod there. I think he's trying. And then to round out 20 to 19, at 20, I'm curious what you'll think about this one. This is Prime Minister Sharif of Pakistan. I don't know whether Pakistan is showing weakness as a result of the U.S. war with Iran, but I'm choosing to interpret it as strength. I mean, the way that Pakistan has been able to like cut in front of India with the Trump administration and cozy up with the United States again, it is now, Islamabad is where J.D. Vance and all these negotiations are happening with the war. Also, I mean, Pakistan's domestic economic situation has been absolutely awful for years, and yet this government seems to be in a technocratic way trying to do things, or is at least keeping control of the situation. There's also the war with the Taliban. Like, I don't know whether that's good or bad, but there's just a lot of instability happening here. And yet, like, you have stability at the political level and Pakistan starting to show itself on the global stage in a way that it wasn't able to do.
So I'm going to make my 20th pick right now too, just to save time. And it's exactly the same. I had him exactly 20th. Started a war against Afghanistan, against Taliban, which was bold. And is, quite frankly, like, Pakistan is what stands between us and complete collapse of society, where we're all clutching our canisters of gasoline and resorting to cannibalism. Like, that's, I mean, like, let's be honest. So yeah, he absolutely deserves this. And I think that what's interesting is that the war against the Taliban and the role in negotiations between Iran and US tensions means that it is expanding its maneuvering room to become closer to China. So Pakistan is giving itself more maneuvering room and geopolitical capital with the US. It's like, hey, bro, we're fighting the Taliban. Hey, bro, we're saving the world from canisters and cannibalism. So I do think that China can build some of our fucking infrastructure, right? Right? And it's well played, yeah, you're right. Economy is stagnant. It's under an IMF program. Very vulnerable to what's going on in Iran, which is not, Sharif's fault. But anyways, I am impressed. We were not even talking about Pakistan for 12 months. Came out of nowhere. This is Danny Avdia, honestly, is a good comp. I think, which is for many reasons also a bad comp. But I think Sharif just showed up out of nowhere and just balled out. I mean, have you watched Avdia? Man, he's an animal. He's Jewish LeBron. Is that okay? Can I say that?
Of
Do you
course,
give me
this
the
is a
blessing?
safe space, cousin. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's Jewish LeBron, bro. He plays so physical. I had no idea. It's like incredible, and I think Pakistan is going hard in the paint. Sorry, anyways, I just wanted to make that pick. So
I don't think there's a context in which you could compare something Jewish to LeBron James that wouldn't ultimately be good from a Jewish perspective. Yes, please. We want to be LeBron in any way that you want us to compare him to. And then 19th is Ahmed al-Shara in Syria. I confess I don't particularly like him. I don't like the former jihadist past. I don't like that now that he's the leader of Syria, which very hard and respect to what he did. But I don't like that he's wearing $100,000 watches as he's walking through the halls of power and everything else. I'm just not. I'm not convinced about the core of this human. But that's not why we're here. We're talking about geopolitical leaders and who do you want as your leader. And the dude climbed a very, very difficult ladder, and Syria is rejoining the world of nations under his stewardship. And he's been able to deal with, Syria's internal fractiousness. He's been able to deal with being caught between everything that's happening in the Middle East. There are some unresolved issues with Israel that he's going to have to figure out. I mean, the United States trying to get Israel and Syria talking to each other. Shara is willing, and Israel just keeps on attacking Syria and taking land. Because Netanyahu has delusions of grandeur, but that's fine. We'll get to him later. But yeah, I think even though I'm holding my nose while doing it, I'll put him at 19.
You will put him at 19.
And then back over to you for your.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to talk about him. I mean, don't really have any reason why I don't have him on the list, but I did put him 18th, I think, last time. What was it?
You did?
16th, 17th. I don't know. I just, I just kind of got bored with him a little bit. I think he's doing his best, and I think the degree of difficulty, is a good argument. I've got Ulf Kristersson. So, there's an election coming up. This guy has been the prime minister of Sweden since 2022. Sweden joined NATO. Degree of difficulty is there. It's pretty difficult. Moderate party is not the largest party. He has to deal with Swedish Democrats. I've talked about this before. Sweden is a very well-run country. It's got some inequality issues, some real estate price issues, but for the most part, I think Sweden is punching above its weight. So it's a boring pick, I know, but sometimes the geopolitics of the situation are difficult. They've joined NATO and they are flexing their muscle, and I think in the right way. I've got another European coming up here. As I said, Europeans have fallen on my list. Pedro Sanchez was very high last year, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. He had a great season. Spain is the economy is absolutely on fire. The only country in Europe that's actually okay with continued immigration and is better for it. He had a huge drop in popularity. I've gone to Spain a couple of times, talked to a lot of clients there. He's generally disliked, but then I do work in finance. He is a socialist, so I get that. But he, like Lula, stood up to the U.S. He just doesn't give a fuck. It's just and triples down on this. Again, he went after Dort. It's a Sunday game on NBC, and he's going after Dort hard, and I respect that. And his popularity is starting to hook back up. Difficult re-election job. I think the election is next year. By the way, Ulf Kristersson in Sweden. I do know the election is this year. We'll see how he fares. Next Spanish election. Let me see. I forgot what that is. I think it's next. Yeah, it has to be by August of next year. I think he has enough time to, quite frankly, honestly, turn it around. Again, Donald Trump helping liberals stay in power from Brazil to Spain. Also, like
since 2016.
I like what he's doing. Like, again, from an Israeli perspective, I think it's extremely annoying that all these Europeans are like, thumbing their nose on Israel. But whatever, like it works domestically, and he is not afraid to do it. Plus, Spain, tradition of, dumping on Jews since what, 1489? Like, right? Like
1492.
1492. Sorry, I missed the date there.
It's
right,
okay. We don't expect everybody to know when the Inquisition started, but if you're playing Geopolitical Cousins Bingo, this is the part where we can talk about my Jewish heritage, because there's a family tree has been done about my dad's side of the family. We can trace ourselves all the way back to the Inquisition, all the way back. We were one of the Jews that eventually had to leave Spain.
So you got some Sephardic in you. That's where the mysticism and the creativity comes from.
I mean, it was like 700 years ago. Like, so when I did 23andMe, I was like, well, again, I'm half, but so I'm like basically 50% Ashkenazi Jew. But there's a 0.3%. Is this Central Asian? Is this Mediterranean? We're not sure what to do with it. So maybe it lives on. But yes, it was a long time ago. We got thoroughly Ashkenazed after the fact.
Well, there is family lore of where the Papic last name comes from. It makes no sense. It isn't really. It's weird. There's Catholics, Croatian Papiches. There's Orthodox Serbian Papiches, and PAP is not like a masculine name. So where does it come from? Like Markovic is the son of Marko. Ivanovic is the son of Ivan. So there is a theory that Papic are basically Sephardic Jews, last name Papo, very, very famous Sephardic Jewish last name. They came to the Ottoman Empire because the Ottomans, shout out to the Turks. They just don't give a flying fuck. I respect that. They were like, yeah, all the Jews from Spain, come over here. And then some dude whose last name was Papa was like, man, I just have this fucking inkling that this whole genocide and like cleansing thing is going to happen again. And then they converted. You know what I mean? And that guy was like, geopolitical forecasting in my blood.
Yeah.
All right.
Good choice.
Yeah, good choice. So Lawrence Wong, Singapore. That's my next pick. We were both high on him last time.
Yeah, I'm still high on. Where is this for you? This is 22. 22.
Look, he's had a whirlwind tour. I Google newsed his name, and this is what came up. Just the last week, he met with Malaysia's Anwar, improving relationship with Malaysia. Well done. He met Vietnam's new leader, so To Lam. He was in Australia, I think, 2 weeks ago. He phoned into the Hormuz crisis line that UK set up. Well done. And he's now on the way to India. Holy shit! Lawrence Wong, just keeping Singapore Airlines in business, man. Like, the man is everywhere. He's young, good looking, love the nerdy look, like hot nerd look, really does well. We put him on the list last year as a draft pick just because he said something about tariffs, which was obvious. He was like, tariffs are dumb. Yeah, thanks. Hey man, I don't think he's disappointed. I think, it's Singapore. It's a well-run country. What do you want him to do? Invade Indonesia? No. He's doing great. I like it. Well done, Lawrence.
Yeah, I had him higher. I had him number 8 on my list. And
well done.
The problem with, not the problem with Lawrence Wong, I think when you're looking at our different metrics, the metrics that he kills on is most of us would trade our current leader for Lawrence Wong.
Yes.
We want a ruthlessly efficient pragmatist.
Yeah. Honestly, most of us would trade our entire federal government for whatever is happening in Singapore. All of you, just come. No, you know what they should do? They should outsource government. Would you like your country to be run by us from Singapore? Yes! Yes, I would. Do you want somewhat questionable democracy? Yes! Yes! Please.
Yeah. Policy as a service. You heard it here first. The reason why he gets demerits for me is because, and this isn't against him, it's just to a certain extent, he's a system guy. This is all Lee Kuan Yew. He's the OG. Any year that we would have been picking that he was leader of Singapore, he would have been number 1 on the list. And he created a system that is producing this ruthlessly pragmatic and efficient leader like Lawrence Wong. And if you're going to get to the top of Singapore politics, you're going through the Lee Kuan Yew school of policy and geopolitics and everything else. So the very rough, I don't know if there's a better soccer metaphor for this, but if we're sticking with NBA, it's kind of like, heat culture. Like, it's producing over and over and over again. You're finding these type of guys. But Lawrence Wong's not going to be the guy who does it, right? Like, he is a product of a system, and he goes back to Lee Kuan Yew. So, and the degree of difficulty is, increasing for Singapore a little bit here, but on the flip side, it's also not so much, because as the Gulf gets hit, like, I don't know, there's just a lot there. So I have him high, and I have him high because he's number one on that. Would you trade for this guy? I rank him a little lower because would he be able to climb the ladder? Well,
you don't have to. I think you've nailed it. Maybe I have him even too low, but because basically I'm saying I would trade. I would rather have the Prime Minister of Pakistan than Lawrence Wong. That's what I'm saying right now, and I don't know if that's correct.
I'm just that's a great example, because the problem is Lawrence Wong, if left to his own devices in Pakistan, would probably never become
a great point.
The leader of Pakistan.
No, that's the heat culture. It's heat culture. Like, he's Tyler Hero, basically. Like, we all like fucking Tyler Hero. He was on on a rap song named after him. Like, that's Lawrence. We all love him, but like, if you put Tyler Hero in like fucking the Washington Wizards, he is like a terrible NBA player. All right, good point. So that makes me feel a little bit better. All right, next one. I know you have to leave in like a minute.
Yeah, we can do 5 more minutes.
All right, 5 more minutes. Okay. So my next two are the next one is important, and I don't know what you're going to think about this. He's kind of weird, but I think degree of difficulty is part of this. This is Lee Jae Myung of South Korea.
Ooh, he's 11 for me. Tell me about him.
All right, sick. I'm glad we're on the kind of a same page. Look, the economy is on fire by Koreans. I mean, like, obviously, he has nothing to do with that. Like, my chocolate Labrador could run South Korea, and the economy could be on fucking fire. But look, man, this guy tried to run for president 3 times. He's an unabashed liberal in Korea, which is,
he's the Bernie Sanders of South Korea. That's
Bernie
not
fucking Sanders.
But he's that left.
No, but like, I mean, he climbed the National Assembly fence during this bizarre martial law episode that his predecessor Yoon Suk Yeol did. Like, he climbed it like a grown-ass man, fucking being like, oh, you're going to close the National Assembly? Watch this. And literally watch this, because he's fucking videoing it live as he's doing it. He led the charge to impeach Yoon, who, by the way, like, I don't like that. Come on. What? Like, he did that. We should just call Yoon Loon, because that was insane. He's trying to improve relations with China.
Aren't like all of the 3 previous South Korean leaders in prison for some? So he had to do his thing to get through.
No, but like, Jacob,
yes, like, particularly dumb.
It's like getting worse and worse. The man tried to impose martial law in 2025 in a country that gave us fucking like Squid Games. What are you doing, bro? Like, no.
He did not read Coups for Dummies. That was clear.
That was crazy.
He didn't prepare.
So anyways, like, the man is like, fuck that. I'm going to climb the fence and go into the parliament, and you can shoot me. Like, I respect the shit out of that. Great job. He tried to improve relations with China, which is what he should be doing in a multipolar world. The one knock on him is this bizarre dispute with Israel. And I know I just gave props to Pedro Sanchez on standing up to Israel. But like, if you're going to say something about Israel, like, get your facts down. He posted a video of a 2024 military operation in West Bank. And then he said that there was no difference between that and the Holocaust, which I can see how, anti-Israeli people kind of agree with. But then he also said that there was no difference between like comfort women issue in Korea and Holocaust. And I'm like, look, to each their own. I know it's a big, serious issue, but like, brother, like, there's like quantitative difference.
No, this is where I will quote my Lord and Savior Dave Chappelle. We don't do comparative suffering. Like, the comfort women thing is terrible, and the Holocaust was terrible, and nobody benefits from anybody saying, which one was worse. Like, they're terrible for both. Like,
look,
just say
I get that
without doing the comparative.
But why? Like, for Spanish, for Pedro Sanchez, shitting on Israel makes sense. Again, like, if you're a pro-Israeli, brother, relax. I'm just telling you, it just does. Right? If you believe that's because of inherent anti-Semitism of Europe, fine, whatever. I'm just telling you, from a degree of difficulty for Sanchez, it makes sense. There is no anti-Semitism in South Korea, or maybe there is, like among some weird.
They love the Jews. They love the Talmud. Go down a Google rabbit hole of South Korea and the Talmud. They think the Talmud is a really interesting thing to teach children, because it makes you.
And
smart.
guess what?
Really
guess what Israel needs? Guess what Israel needs? It needs to diversify away from the U.S. South Korea has some really good air defense systems. There could be collaboration. South Korea is starting to rise up in terms of arms exports. Why would you, because of a stupid tweet, just like abrogate this very clear relationship that you can be building? I just don't understand it. Unless you're trying to sell weapons to the Muslim countries, and maybe it was a great PR play. I don't fucking know, but like it was totally out of left field.
I think you're actually pointing to the thing, like a thing that is his strength, which is ideologically that makes sense for him based on what he thinks about the world, and he has not governed like that. Imagine Bernie Sanders, but Bernie Sanders becomes president and suddenly he's a ruthlessly pragmatic centrist. Yes, like Lee is reaching out to China. That's expected. You know what he hasn't done? He hasn't picked a fight with Japan, which the last time Moon, when he was leader of South Korea, there was a big fight with Japan. We were going back to comfort women and we were talking about a trade spat between the two. And credit to Joe Biden, one of the only real successes, foreign policy successes that he had was he was able to put the Japan-South Korea relationship back together. And that was in part because Moon wasn't there anymore and you had Yoon and you could put it back together. So I actually think that was a rare moment where Lee let himself say what he was thinking. And he walked it back really quickly. Like Israel considers the dispute resolved now after high-level talks between the two. And overall, I think Lee has done a really good job of separating his personal ideology from the geopolitical policy that he has to pursue. That's my biggest worry about him, though, because in there is that ideological push. And it's going to be, he's going to have to keep it down and he's going to have to keep governing like a pragmatist and say, okay, I know I want this, but in order to be the best that I can be, I have to sublimate my ideology and I have to express that in terms that will make me like, so far he's done it, but like there are landmines there for him. But listen, so far, like I'm double thumbs up for him. I've been very, very impressed.
Here's what I would say about him. Go look at the memory prices on Bloomberg Terminal or whatever. Like it's easy to be a socialist when like manna from heaven is just coming down. So he also, I think, came in at the right time. But again, God bless him. He climbed the fence, bro, as a middle-aged man. Like I respect that. I know you got to go, so we're obviously going to pick up this with the next 18 picks. I do want to finish off Prabowo Subianto, Indonesia. I thought that was a really good pick by you. I know you've kind of like, he's an honorable mention now for you, you know, which is...
No, I had him 28. He's still top 30.
Yes, there he is. Yeah, okay.
He's top 30. Like,
I don't have to say anything. We can end it on that. Like everything you said about him as 29, as 28 is still applicable. And I guess I rate his geopolitical stuff a little bit higher than you. I mean, he is bringing in the number one source of FDI into Indonesia is China and will continue to be China. And he just signed a deal with the US on access to airspace. And he just doesn't give a fuck. And he knows that he can do it. Why? Because Indonesia is huge. You know, it's the most populous Muslim country. And he's just telling everyone like, I'm here, I'm big. Yeah, I'm going to sign a defense deal with America, China. What are you going to do about it? Stop the FDI? Well, then you don't get any nickel for your EVs. So what's up? And I respect that. I respect that he's throwing his weight around.
No, I think he's got the foreign policy chops. I think he does not. He needs to find some. It doesn't even have to. I mean, his predecessor Jokowi was incredible in terms of domestic policy.
Yes.
He needs a sprinkle of that, and he's not. He's not showing the ability to grow in that sense. And it's not going to work for him if he's only good on the foreign policy side. Because Indonesia, like some of these other countries that I talked about, South Africa, Ethiopia, Indonesia's further along than this, but it's a very disparate nation. Like it's not your model nation state. You've got an archipelago of different islands and different languages and everything else like that. And to forge some kind of consistent, modern, national pride out of that can allow you to project policy forward and bring the nation along with you, you need some domestic policy magic. And I'm just worried he's going back to the military dictator. I already said this, but like I'm worried that he's going to the whip hand and not to the Jokowi, hey, we are Indonesian. Let's define what it means to be Indonesian in the 21st century, because if we don't, we're going to be picked off. Like he needs to work on that if he's going to make it. But I agree with you on the foreign policy level. It's almost like it was almost like he was bred in a lab for like this particular moment and how to position Indonesia like in the world.
But I would say that his degree of difficulty is not that high because it is Indonesia and it's so critical. One thing, do you have time for 5 more or do we got to cut it?
No, I can do 5 more. I pushed it to 1, so I'm good.
Oh, sick. Me too. Okay, cool. Well, let's try to get 5 more because then the next episode, maybe we do just, both do the top 10 and we do the sort of amalgamation. So yeah, let's, your next 5 picks.
I think let's each do 3 because I think we're going to start to get controversial, and
Okay.
I think we might want to talk about these because number 18th. All right, are you ready? This
Yes.
is my controversial. Number 18th, Iran's Leadership Council.
Yep, that's fine. There were so that was my honorable mention as well. I failed to mention it. Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf for me, but yes, I agree with you.
I mean, if we had gone back in time a year ago and you said you're going to get not the full force, but you're going to get a significant U.S.-Israeli alliance to encourage to try and lead to regime change inside of Iran. Iran has taken every punch. It's continuing to punch back. It's controlling the Strait of Hormuz. Maybe this looks stupid 12 months from now. Like maybe the nightmare scenario that you and I have outlined of internal civil war within Iran, or all that is still on the board. But this far, the amount of pressure that this regime has been under, and it's still there, and it's still coherent. You may not like the regime. I don't like the regime. It's a bunch of theocratic ghouls, but they're governing. They're leading in a very, very difficult situation. So cool. Like I get it. And I paired it just because I love being ironic. At number 17, I have Benjamin Netanyahu.
There we go.
Who, again, holding my nose. But man, has he killed it from a foreign policy perspective. He got rid of Hamas. He's gotten rid of Hezbollah. He's bringing Iran to its knees. He's extending Israeli power into southern Lebanon again. They're just doing whatever he wants in the West Bank. I have deep moral qualms and problems with all of this. But if you're thinking about Israel's geopolitical position, this dude has done more for Israeli security and Israeli position in the Middle East in the last 4 years than maybe any Israeli leader had going back to 73. Like, could I make that hyperbolic statement? Now, he's got tons of problems domestically. He's got corruption, trials stalking him. In some sense, he has to have permanent war so that he doesn't get held to task on corruption. I think he's overextending himself. I think this is bad for Israel in the long run. But you can't argue with the results, man. If you're a small country in the Middle East and you have a leader who just did this to all of the rivals that are around you, pretty good record. And if you were in a situation like Israel was, you want an asshole like that is that is at the top of the country, like ruthlessly making up for the security failure on October 7th. So I think he has to be there. And then my 16th pick, and then I'll let you do the next 3, and then we'll go. I stole this from you. I didn't have him, I don't think, last year, but I think Mohammed the Sixth of Morocco. Yep. Also,
just good, solid, yeah.
And lower degree of difficulty because he's far away from all the Middle Eastern nonsense and has some resources and things like that. But that's one of my boring picks. Like, he's just sitting there. If you're looking for positive stories in the Middle East and North Africa, Morocco's like maybe your only one right now. I mean, like it's been going from strength to strength very quietly. So that's my.
I mean, look, I have him 9th, and I'll just talk about it right now. And I had him last time 7th, I think, or 6th. Look, yeah, he was up there. The reason that we rank Mohammed VI so high is not because like Morocco's stable. It's because he has expanded industrialization in this country. It is absolutely shocking what he has done. Like, this is one of the few stories on the planet Earth where the country has actually industrialized,
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's amazing. World Cup is coming to Morocco too. Like, he's done just like, he's just done like a great job, and he's done it with a little bit of fanfare. So I just think that, it's incredible. He's going to co-host the 2030 World Cup with Spain and Portugal. Industrialization is moving forward. Structural reforms are working. Investment is surging. It's not just tourism anymore. And we also have to recognize that. So that's great. I mean, I thought about putting Iran's leadership somewhere on this list. I forgot to mention that I do have them as honorable mention just because of the effort they're putting up. My concern is that would I want them to be the leadership of a country, right, that I'm running? Would I want to trade Donald Trump for the Ayatollahs of Iran? And I think the answer is no, because they did kill 30,000 people. And I'm not saying that. I mean, everybody knows who I am. I'm a nihilist bathed in aloof indifference. It's just that I don't think they've improved the country in any significant way. Whereas I think Benjamin Netanyahu, if we actually ignore the geopolitics, Where I do think it's questionable, I think it's very myopic to say that he's successful because like he's improved security since October 7th. Maybe in the short term, maybe in the long term, not. But I think that where I really need to eat some crow, and I'll get back to this later, is that the economy has been well run. Israel's a real economy right now. It's at a point where maybe it doesn't even need PR anymore. I always knocked Benjamin Netanyahu for like what he's doing to the standing of Israel in the world, which I think is like significant. And, in talking to some of my Israeli friends, they're like, maybe we just don't need this anymore. Maybe we're fine. Like, anyways, let me go to my picks. I'll come back to.
Well, hold on. Can I say two things about that real fast before you go through the first is I think you're absolutely right about Iran's leadership council, and it's a little tongue in cheek. I'm joking a little bit here. So for the listeners who are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you had it on there," remember, this is entertainment. Like this is like I'm trying to entertain you a little bit. Of course, most of us would not trade for Iran's regime. Where it becomes operative is, would you trade for Iran's leadership council if your country was under assault by the United States military?
No, I hear that for sure, 100%.
Because I think you might. Like that's
but what?
Litmus test.
You know what I would say about that? The degree of difficulty of challenging the U.S. is not like Serbia put up a great fight as well in 1999. Like like it really did. It put up a real fight against 27 countries of fucking NATO. And then like there are examples where that happens. I'm just like, if 12 months from now, like Iran's economy is crappy and there's like a revolution, that's going to be like a bad pick. That's all I'm saying. But I agree with you. I agree. Listen, I contemplated putting them in. I just failed to mention at the beginning that I do have them also in the honorable mention. So hat tip to Tehran.
Well, I also just think, the strength of their Lego propaganda by itself also warrants some inclusion here.
That is 100%, man. 100%. Yeah. And just like, I just love the nuance with which like Iran, like a friend of mine, a buddy of mine who is just a great listener. Shout out to, he knows who he is, Mr. Shah. He pointed out, he was like, we elected President Trump because of his meme game. We elected him because of his savvy in social media, and he's getting his ass kicked by these Lego videos, man. And then like that baby, did you see the JD Vance? Like he's a baby touching straight around. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, it was.
Man,
really good.
It's good. Okay.
But before you move to your picks, also, I think you actually highlighted the weakness of the Netanyahu argument, which is economic performances. I mean, some of it is wartime economy stuff, and like the things that are doing well in Israel are tied to defense and cybersecurity and some of these other things. But I don't think he gets to take credit for that. I think that he's dining out on Israel's unique culture, and I think, ironically, by partnering with the far right and with the religious right, particularly with the religious right, by doing the things that he's doing, by not supporting that secular middle, which is what made Israel what it was, and continuing to align with the far religious right just to stay in power, Israel's best and brightest will leave if they can. And I think he's actually hollowing out some of the core of what like made Israel very strong. And maybe he has no other choice. Like he has to do that in order to stay in power. But I don't think he gets credit for Israel's economic performance. If anything, I think his decisions 10 years from now might put Israel in a very difficult situation economically. But
let's talk about that now. Let's talk about that now, because I did not have him in the top 30 last time because of everything you just said. But I have him as number 11 now. And let me tell you what my conversion was. Mm-hmm. He is clearly a diabolical genius on domestic political front. Like, you can't get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu the way you cannot get rid of mold.
It's a good comparison.
I mean, like, would I want my country to be led by Benjamin Netanyahu? Like, I mean, kind of. Yeah. Like he does pursue relentlessly the interests of your country. I do. And he has presided over an economy that is on fire. Now, your point is like, well, it's going to get hurt, but it hasn't been hurt. And he's been the leader of this freaking country, like for like, since, I don't know, like biblical times.
He is the longest serving prime minister in Israel's history, which is remarkable.
So I docked him last time for two reasons. He is not standing up to the ultra right, which I think will eventually hurt that knowledge economy. I think it hasn't. So I gotta accept that it hasn't, like I think it will. And then finally, I've docked him because of the PR disaster that is Israel right now. Israel is a PR fucking disaster. I mean, you've got like anti-Semites coming out of the woodwork. It's like, it's cool to be anti-Semitic now. You know, like Kanye like was a trendsetter, clearly, you know? And that's crazy. And obviously that's not his fault, really, or Israel's fault. It's the fault of the people who are anti-Semitic. But there's also people who are now criticizing Israel who were defending it in the past because, you know, he does go hard in the paint. So you could say that all those things are knock against him. But the reason that I've had a change in mind is that, you know, like, what if Israel just doesn't care anymore? You know, what if it doesn't matter? Like, Israel in the 60s and 70s, the economy was kind of shitty. They needed that help from the US. Does Israel need $5 billion a year of defense spending? Does it need that? No. So why doesn't it just tell Americans, oh, you guys are turning anti-Israeli or somewhat anti-Semitic? You know what? Fuck you guys. We don't need you. We'll buy South Korean weapons. And I would say that the way I would respect Israel and Netanyahu more is if they did that. If they just said, you know what, fuck all you guys. We will buy weapons from China and Russia. What? What are you going to do about it? Like, just go full authoritarian, not authoritarian, go full semi, you know, kind of like a failed democracy, like that kind of like Turkey. Like, go full Erdogan, baby. Like, just go. Like, just do it. And then it will be kind of clean, you know, like, stop pretending to be a Western liberal society. 70% of Israelis want to continue the war with Iran, no matter what the consequences are for the rest of the world, and God bless them for it. That's democracy. Like, you want to live in a militaristic society that starts wars all over, then fucking pull the umbilical cord with the West, with Enlightenment. Zionism is just another word for nationalism. There's nothing weird about it. People, like, we've talked about this before, like the same dynamic that created Serbia for the Serbs or Italy for the Italians created Israel for the Jews. There's nothing weird about that. But that means that Israel is connected to this enlightenment of Europe of the 19th century. Just pull the fucking umbilical cord, go full Middle East, and stop financing AIPAC to lobby on behalf of that $5 billion a year. No, I'm serious. Like, stop doing it.
Or make some Lego movies.
And I just say, look, we're going to buy weapons from Turkey. Well, okay, that can't happen. We're going to buy weapons from South Korea. We're going to buy weapons from Japan. We're going to buy weapons from China, Russia. If you guys don't like us, France, Germany, and America, you know what? That's cool. We're going to take everything in Lebanon up to Litani. We're going to expand the Golan Heights. We're going to annex the West Bank. Fucking come at me, bro. But that would be, I think, where I would say, you know, Jacob, like, I would say that would be the full circle.
Yeah.
And then that would be like even more impressive, honestly, in some ways. Like, you know, Israel just becomes another country that pursues its interests without having an umbilical cord with the West, which I thought was existential to the country. And maybe it isn't. Maybe it just isn't.
Yeah, I mean, we could go deeper into that. We could also talk about, you know, the influx of Russian-speaking immigrants into the country in the 90s and the 2000s and how
that's definitely changed.
And, like,
that's
part of it. And I wonder, like, if we're thinking about, you know, the Bill Simmons trade value part of this, like, I think maybe, like, you know, lots of countries might trade for a Netanyahu, but I wonder, I'm going to now do that thing on the Cousins bingo where I agree and disagree, except not with you, with myself. I wonder, like, if a large number of Israelis would be like, you want to trade for Netanyahu? Great, we'll drive him to the airport. When do you want him? Like, we're good.
But that's ideological, though, Jacob. You know what I mean? Like, we need to. I think both of us find certain things about what he does as like excessive, right? But that might be just our bias. Like, you know, look, he is popular in Israel.
Within a certain class. But you're right in the sense that he's he's a highly skilled democratic leader in a democratic system because he is a megalomaniac and a narcissist. It's just that his megalomania and narcissism is also tied to what is best for the state, and he pursues both with ruthless abandon. Now, I think he puts himself above the state, but he's able to do that and push both forward. And the thing is, you don't get the good leader, or the skilled leader, I should say, if you don't get the guy who is ruthlessly narcissistic about him. This is the Michael Jordan principle. Michael Jordan would not be the greatest basketball player in the history of human civilization if he wasn't also a dick. Like he had to be a dick in order to be that. Netanyahu has to be a dick in order to be 17th on my
But all of them are, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who isn't? Like, who puts themselves under this kind of pressure? Like, I don't know. Look,
you know what? I think that's a good. That's a good litmus test. Is this person really a dick? Because most of the people on this list, I agree with you, but there are a few who I would
Lawrence
say
Wong
are
is not a dick. Like, I agree. But look, here's what I would say. Why did I keep him off the list? Let's be very clear. Because I thought that what he's doing is not good for Israel in the long term. Pushing out liberal Israelis who just want to like raise families and be tech bros, like that's not a good thing. And the second thing is that I think some of the geopolitical things he's doing is stretching Israel too thin and putting the existential alliance it has with the West at risk. And then I'm like, wait a minute, but it's like the 24th largest economy on the planet. Does he need, like, this is the part, like, does he need that umbilical cord? Am I overemphasizing the PR aspect? And I think I am. And that's why I'm just saying, like, look, you know, I think that
if you want to be really, I think you're right. If you want to be really provocative here, like Israel needs the United States as a security patron and has needed it since 1967. And that was a product of the Cold War. Before that, it was France and Britain. If you're being really provocative here, of course, Israel needs to sever its relationships with the West and with the United States. The United States is not going to be a security guarantor for that much longer. Trump's probably the last gasp of that. It's very clear the direction U.S. politics is going.
Oh, yeah. Tucker Carlson for president, baby.
Yeah. Tucker Carlson. You want China or India as your security guarantor. 100%. You got to make that shift.
100%. And Russia. Fuck it. No, diversify. You don't need, listen,
diversify.
This is the part where like everybody was like mad at me because I was like, Israel isn't that innovative. Like, look at their military technology. It's all bought from the US, except for the Iron Dome. And people are like, blah, blah, blah. I'm right. You're wrong. Period. But
you just said so much good. You were just on side with them and you just had to kick the hornets.
But here's why. Here's why, though. Here's why. Like, you don't need F-15s and F-16s. You can buy Sukhois. You can buy anything you want. There's like plenty of other stuff out there that, like, look, I mean, the tech that Israel relies on the US is old tech. It can be replaced easily. And so I think those people are both wrong and right. Israel makes enough money. Let's all agree on that. Israel is a very advanced economy. GDP per capita is one of the top 10 in the world, man. Mm-hmm. Like, let's like, and that's counting the Lilliputian states. It's even higher if you take out the Liechtensteins and stuff. Anyways, I just think, you know, yeah, I mean, like, he is number 11 for me. So let me really quickly do the next three. I know you got to go soon, so we're going to do this quickly. I do still have Tokayev as, sorry, where am I? Yep, I still have Tokayev at 18.
That's fine.
He's navigated geopolitics successfully. He, you know, like, he's doing okay. I had him number 6, 7 last time. That was too high. And I'm going to come back to one of your darlings, Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, who I do think...
Mirziyoyev. You sound like Donald Trump trying to say it. It's Mirziyoyev.
Thank you.
There you go.
I do think he is better than my Central Asian. So your Central Asian is better than mine. So we will come back to that. Mohammed bin Zayed, UAE, makes my 17. Mohammed bin Salman makes 16. Let me just defend the two of them. First of all, on Saudi Arabia, despite the Gulf and Ronaldo fiascos, the truth is that in 2025, despite low oil prices, Saudi Arabia actually showed considerable economic resiliency because the fact of the matter is the economy has been diversified. They are successful. The line, Ronaldo, Gulf, those are things that Westerners obsess about because they sound weird. But they have actually expanded petrochemical stuff. They've done a lot of this. So I am giving him credit for that. The other thing is, like, your point is like, look, Hormuz is shut and all this stuff. I do want to say that a younger Mohammed bin Salman would have lost his cool. I think a younger Mohammed bin Salman would have joined the American attacks. And I don't think, like, I do actually think, I think it was Israeli propaganda, by the way, that he was like itching for war. I don't think that's the case at all. I think that both bin Salman and bin Zayed have kept considerable cool in the face of immense pressure. And that's why I'm giving them these two spots. The other thing is though, like, why did he drop out of? He was number freaking 3 for you. He was number 8 for me last year. So why is he now this low? Because I think that it would have probably been better to build a pipeline, another pipeline to Yombu, than give Ronaldo $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that like he is very good at playing all sides. He just had a call with Xi. But why did you then not think that, this infrastructure needs to be updated? So that's where I think that both KSA, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the UAE should have done much better. Clearly should have invested more in the infrastructure to avoid this situation. So anyways, that's where I have them. I know you said they fell off your list. No, actually, Mohammed bin Salman.
I've still got Mohammed bin Salman at 26, and I agree with everything you said. Like, he's still top 30. I think we see that some of his decisions were not so good. He got distracted, but you're right. The long arc is still there, and he's trying to do stuff, and he is on the list. I'm off with MBZ. I think catastrophic failure in my point of view. I think he's lost his discipline. I think he got delusions of grandeur. And if I'm in the UAE, I'm mad. I think he got too big for his britches, as we say down here in the South.
Okay, so I hear you on Sudan and other things. I know you've emphasized that a lot, and that's fine. I think that's fair. But you gotta, like, they were prepared for this in a way. I mean, if you think about the performance of their militaries, it's not bad. Like, they have intercepted vast majority of, like, really difficult to intercept drones and missiles. So it's not like they were militarily prepared for this conflict in a very highly technological way, but they didn't prepare the infrastructure. I mean, that's where I would kind of knock them. But the performance has been good.
And I hope they enjoy paying Iran tolls in perpetuity in Chinese yuan.
Well, not perpetuity.
Foreseeable future.
Not in perpetuity, just for as long as it takes them to build a pipeline.
Well, by that point, everybody else will have built things. But I think we should pick it up there because I have to go. So let's put a pin in it there, and let's argue about the UAE before we begin our next list.
Excellent.
Because this was great.
Thank you.